Chapter 7, Prisoner B, 3087. Jews of Krakow, the announcement blared from speakers. Get up, get out, get moving. 7,000 volunteers are needed for the resettlement camps. The asked-for volunteers had not appeared in Zodi Square the next morning, and the Germans were not happy. Just after dawn, they drove through the streets of the ghetto in trucks with big speakers on them, yelling at us to come out. Envision that. That's a great piece of imagery. It will be worse for you if you hide, they called. Come out now, and all will be forgiven. Ask yourself, do you really think they'll be forgiven if they just come out willingly? I didn't believe them. None of us did. Uncle Moshe and Gazella and my cousin Zitka were all there with us. They had decided to come hide in our pigeon coop. So had the rest of my aunts and uncles and cousins. There were 12 of us, all crammed inside the little shack on the roof. Notice yesterday he called it a sanctuary, and now it's a shack. It was too crowded, but there was no way we would turn them away. Everyone was afraid of this new announcement, and we had seen too many smaller resettlements to take it lightly. At least all of us pressed together in the coop helped us keep us warm. We couldn't start a fire or the smoke would give us away. A gunshot rang out. Crack! A woman screamed. Pop, 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 went a machine gun. I scrambled to the little window in our coop where we'd hung a blanket to hide us. Yannick, no, my mother whispered, but I had to see. Across the street was a building that had been turned into a hospital, and I watched through a hole in the blanket as the Nazis pushed sick people out of the door and down the steps. Some of them were too weak to walk and collapsed on the pavement. They cried out piteously. What's happening? Moshe asked. My heart was in my throat. That's an idiom. But I managed to answer. Sick people, old people, they're taking them out of the hospital. They can't be taking them to work camps for resettlement, Moshe said. His voice was quiet but urgent. They would never take the sick and the old away to work. They're taking them to die, and anyone else with them. As I watched, the Nazis walked up behind the sick people from the hospital and started to shoot. Bodies fell on bodies, a great pile of them in the street. They fell with terrible screams. I pulled away from the window, unable to watch anymore. No, I said. They're not taking them away. They're shooting them right here. Not even Uncle Moshe had anything to say to that. My mother reached for my hand and pulled me back to her. We sat like that for hours, listening to the gunshots and screams in the street. My younger cousins huddled next to their mothers, weeping on and off quietly. I was terrified just like they were, but I wasn't going to cry. I was a man now, I reminded myself. I was a man, and I wanted to do something to stop the Nazis, to save my family. I asked myself over and over again what I could do to help, but I had no answer. Shunk, shunk. The big metal door to the roof rattled. Someone was trying to come through. I held my breath, listening. Shunk, 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 shunk. Would the steel bars hold? Would whoever was on the other side start shooting? I watched my mother's eyes grow wide again, watched her chest heave as she breathed faster and faster. She looked like she might scream, which would give us away for sure. My father hugged her close, holding her face to his shoulder. Shunk, 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 shunk. I waited for another gunshot. Waited, but then, for whatever reason, the rattling stopped, and whoever it was went away. We held still, none of us daring to breathe, waiting for someone to try to come through again. But an hour passed, and then another, and no one came back. That evening, the trucks drove through the streets again with a new message for us. Jews of Krakow! Unless everyone comes to Zodi Square for selection, this ghetto will be liquidated. If you do not come out of your house by 6 p.m., every one of you will be shot on sight when we find you. Liquidated? Do you hear that? Uncle Abraham said. Liquidated like it's a business decision. They would get rid of us like so many old pairs of shoes. And before I continue, I want you to think about when something is liquidated, when a business goes out of business, they make their sale prices really, really cheap. So all the merchandise is sold or is got out of there. So they're treating the Jews as though they're just not even a human being. We should go, Moshe said. He stood. You heard them. They will kill us if we don't. They will kill us if we do, I said. They said they will liquidate the ghetto only if we do not come out. By hiding, we seal our death warrant, Moshe said. No, I said. I could feel my pulse racing. We can't trust them. It's a trick. I know it is. It's a trick to get us to come out of our hiding place. You're still a boy, Yanek, even if you've had your bar mitzvah. Listen to me, all of you. If we stay here and are found, we'll be shot, Moshe argued. He opened the door to the coop. We have to go now. If we do what they say, they may let us live. And which side are you on? This is a claim. This is an argument right here. We have the claim is Uncle Moshe claims if they leave the coop and go to the square, they will be in better shape, so to speak. They'll be safer. Where Yanek is saying, no, we're going to be shot no matter what. We're going to be, hurt. They're going to kill us no matter what. Let's just stick it out and stay in our coop. So what do you feel? Do they stay or do they go? That is a good song. Should I stay or should I go? Let's find out. My uncles and cousins started arguing about it. Dalwid agreed with Moshe. Abraham wanted to stay. My aunts argued too, and the younger children started to cry. I looked to my parents to see what they wanted, but my mother's face was still buried in my father's shoulder, and he was comforting her. Tears welled up in my eyes. I wasn't a boy. Not anymore. Not after my bar mitzvah. Not after a year in the Kirkhow ghetto. I knew I had to be a grown-up now. For my parents, for everyone. I pushed past Uncle Moshe and marched to the big metal door. I yanked off the steel bars and flung the door open with a clang. There, I said, go. If you want to leave so badly, if you want to hand yourself over to those killers, then do it right now. But I'm not. I've seen what the Nazis think of us, how they treat us. We all have. So they kill us if they find us here. If we go down there on our own, they will most certainly kill us. At least if we hide here, there's a chance they won't find us. And that's a chance I'm willing to take. My outburst shut everyone else up. They all stared at one another without speaking until my father rose. Yanek speaks with the wisdom of the prophet Isaiah, he said softly, then quoted, Come, my people, and shut your doors behind you. Hide yourselves for a little while until the wrath is past. He cleared his throat and looked around. Mina and I are staying too. One by one, the others agreed, until even Uncle Moshe sat down and was quiet. I closed the door and slid the steel bars back in place, making sure they were tight. Night fell, and with it came more gunshots, more screams from the streets below. The deportation lasted for 2 days. But on the third day, when the sun rose, there were no more trucks in the streets, no more gunshots, no more Nazis. They did not liquidate the entire ghetto as they had promised. Once their quota was filled, they went away again. 7,000 Jews had been collected and taken away to die, but we were not among them. The word quota, that represents that 7,000. A quota is a goal that you have, and they met it by collecting 7,000 Jews. So now you're going to look for that comprehension piece, and you're going to use the evidence in the text, much like yesterday.